All right, everybody, welcome back. Again, my name is Ashley Peacock, and I just want to thank you so very much for being here at tonight's conversation piece. In environments like Flint, where we want to transcend problem solving and actually enter the realm of creating new things for our communities, we have to tap creatives for that. We tap creatives for that because the creative entrepreneur, specifically, is in the business of dreaming things up and then bringing them to life. We think it, and then we build it. And I want those people to lead culture. I want those people to lead civics. I want those people to lead. So with that said, I want to introduce you to somebody who I look up to. And I told his grandma this earlier. I don't invite people here to speak with that I don't look up to. And I want to tell you a little bit about James. So he's a Flint native, born, raised, and educated in Flint. Moved to New York after already getting accolades in his hometown and made a bigger name for himself. He worked for Lincoln Jazz, doing branding. He had partnerships with Microsoft. And he came back to Flint. And I don't know if you noticed the theme, like a lot of successful creatives leave Flint and then come back, and he's still building his enterprise here in Flint and in Detroit, doing partnerships with Beats and Beers, with the 810 brand. He's got some other cool irons in the fire in Detroit. But something that I noticed personally about James, and I'm going off biography right now, is his consistent commitment to himself. He honors how he's made. And to me, that's the essence of branding. You just magnify what's already there, but first you have to know what's there. And then the branding is just one way to honor what's there. But I think so often, and we're going to talk about fear, fear chokes marketing and branding because we don't believe we're worthy enough to be magnified in the world, right? It's arrogant, isn't it? How many brilliant artists sit behind closed doors working or even just suffering in silence because they don't believe they have permission to activate on themselves? James is the walking embodiment of permission to be yourself. And when you see it done, one of the evidences is humility. You want to watch somebody walking around, understanding who they are and magnifying their presence and helping others to do so as a creative, you will see humility. So that said, I want to introduce James Thigpen Jr.
Hello. Can you hear me?
Yes. So James, you are from and of Flint. Talk just a little bit about your upbringing, being born here, being educated here, and then launching from here.
I think the best way for any Flint native to talk about their upbringing is kind of to go through the school system, because we're so big on school pride, on our mascots. So I went to Sobey, to Whittier, and to Central before going to college and graduating later on, Mont College and University of Michigan Flint. My upbringing, any typical North Side upbringing, young black boy. I think the North Side, when I was growing up, is light years away from where it is now, which is kind of dilapidated, But growing up, I knew everybody on my street. Like, I knew everybody's name. It was nothing for me to ride my bike up and down the street. Family-wise, it was a great childhood, actually. I'm not just saying that because y'all are here either. It was a great childhood. Like, I had a lot of fun. I was like reminiscing over that recently, and I think that it's a shame, where we've gotten, specifically on the North Side, but I tend not to try to focus on that too much. Just thinking about my lifestyle and my childhood, like, it really is something to smile at. It's like, it was all about community. It was about, family, and family meant your neighborhood. Like, it was literally like, if I walked down the street, I remember being scolded by other parents, rightfully so, because I was doing something I had no business doing, but it was those times still. I can remember my mom and my dad talking about how people were even more like that when they grew up. And that's just how I remember it, As far as school goes, I went through the Flint school system, a lot of pride, Sobe Spartans, which is now, I think it's a boys and girls club now, if I'm not mistaken. It's down the street from Potter, if anybody knows. Just fun. Like, it was just a lot of fun, like, to the point where now if people see me from elementary, they still remember me. I still remember them. It was a lot of love in that school system growing up. So my childhood was amazing.
And you decided to be an artist early on, right?
Oh man, good question.
So where did you stumble on that?
Yeah, my mom is a teacher as well. So child development is a no question in my household. She gave me the tools to further what she seen that was, a light in me. So I remember in our basement, we had a room that was just like, I could just go and just paint all over the wall. Like, it was in the basement, no one would ever go in that room. But we just had paints and, just could kind of go free and just like allow me to make mistakes and, just be creative without penalty, And later on, I remember second grade going to school. It was career day, and I went to school as an artist in second grade. And so I think, just people being throughout, and it's a list of people that I could speak on, but throughout life, people that just encourage that more, and seeing that even if the picture wasn't that great, they still encouraged it and still said, yo, keep doing this. This is something there, and and that feeling, I think, is what pushed me to later gain confidence. And
so in second grade, given the option to choose a career, to show up to school like in costume, you chose artist in second grade. Yeah. Would you have seen that in yourself without the encouragement from people around you?
I can't say. I don't know what I just know what I seen. I know that people encouraged me for it. I can't say whether I would have seen that if they weren't there, but I can't really imagine that a child would be able to fight, or be able to have the consistency that I had at that age to learn how to draw a little bit or whatever, had I not had that encouragement.
You used the great word permission. You had permission to make mistakes. Yeah. You had permission to figure things out and to be yourself. I think that's huge.
I agree.
So tell me about continuing on in your education in college here in Flint and then launching to a career in New York City.
We got to go to high school next, man.
Let's talk about high school.
I'm a Central Indian. I know they changed to Phoenix, but man, I can't skip over high school. Like that right there, as much trouble as I got into, and even coming out of that mischievous stage and just carrying on. I made mistakes. I learned a lot. But high school was so pivotal, specifically because of, I would say, the Skills Center. I don't know if you're familiar.
Yeah.
I had Eddie Watkins was one person that I can really give credit for helping me further in my career. He was the one who actually told me, I think that you'll be good at graphic design. I was going to go into video. And he pulled me to the side when I was leaving his class, which is a beginner course, and he just told me, I think that you have a gift here. I know you want to go with your friends, because that was the thing. Like, Skills Center was the fun. It was a privilege to go there. If those that don't understand what Skills Center is literally that. It teaches you skills. So some people go for automotive, some people go for cosmetology. Train focus, correct. And you go the last 2 hours of your school day, or that was my schedule at least. And because of that, I took it serious. I was able to go to College of Creative Studies to see people that were in the field that were actually learning what I would eventually do going to my U of M, and it made me just like, it opened my eyes up. We were going to these different schools and colleges and actually seeing, this guy looks like me, and he's actually able to create a car, and mold a car for money. I think I can do something like this, so.
this guy looks like me. Now, you have committed yourself to understanding and then purveying empowerment in Black culture. When in your path would you say to yourself, I want to see people like me out there being successful, and then I want to be on the same path?
I mean, I feel like just because I'm a Black man, if I see another Black person that's doing great, of course, representation is a big deal. So if we see someone that's doing something that looks like us, then I can believe that I can do it too. That's why
Permission, yeah.
Yeah, Black Panther, the movies like that matter because we can see ourselves on the big screen and believe that we can do something great. And so throughout life, I seen, my father, I had my father in the home. So it was like, that was representation, because of him, my daughter's in the back, I can understand how to raise her, and it's multiple examples of that. Eddie Watkins, who I mentioned earlier, is a teacher who, a Black man in the arts and was successful. And so it was not far-fetched that I would have a career in, my chosen path.
You saw that it was possible, and it gave you internal permission to activate on yourself. That's huge. And I think so often permission is modeled. Like when you see it done, you're like, I can do the same thing, only on my own path. So college, you got a lot of accolades. You won 3 Addies in college. It seemed like, was that a turning point for you of not just education, but identifying a path for you?
Yeah, college, most definitely, because I paid for it. So when you start paying for something, of course it's a change because now you have to take it serious. There's no more free ride. It's like, if I'm going to be here, I'm going to do this. I'm going to go get through this first and foremost without someone telling me to get up and go to class. And not only that, living in Flint, I never, I looked at it at first as like, man, I wasn't able to go off to school or anything like that. But now I look at it as a blessing. Like it made me way stronger because I lived in Flint. So I had basically worked full time and was a full-time student. Like we don't have the opportunity to just kind of sit and think about it and just go to our dorm room later and have our parents, pay for our schooling. A lot of us don't. If you are fortunate to do so.
You're leaving class to go start your shift.
Yeah, I'm not looking down on who was able to do that, but that wasn't my story, and it's okay. But because of that, I understood, how to organize my life. That these are the hours and that I have to go to school, and right after that I got to change in the bathroom and go to work, or or vice versa. And it just gave me the work ethic that I need at this point in life.
Because you pole vaulted from Flint Public High School to Lincoln Jazz in New York City.
Pole vaulted, that sounds like speed. It sounds like, what do you mean when you say pole vaulted? Because it was not fast.
Tell me about the pole. What were some of the biggest factors in transitioning from a place where a lot of people get stuck and choked out? I'm in a public high school in Flint, Michigan, and just a few years down the road, it wasn't fast, it wasn't easy, but there was a massive transition into a very high functioning career.
Jazz at Lincoln Center it's just that, it's really elite. In a lot of good ways. I wouldn't ever down them because they taught me so much, but I think that so many people aren't able to experience that culture, which is unfortunate, and they're doing a lot of things to solve that. But for me, it was a matter of consistency and faith. One, when I moved to New York, I took the leap. So prior to me moving to New York, I actually worked at U of M, Flint. And I worked for University Relations Department, creating a lot of their graphics, a lot of video for them, a lot of the media. And I resigned and took the leap. And I used to think that was like a big deal. Like I wore that as like like this S on my chest when I got there, and realized very quickly that everybody in New York did the same thing. So you're not special, you just got to get to work. So prior to me getting into Jazz at Lincoln Center, I actually scrubbed toilets for months. Like, it was like a half of a year I was a janitor. Is a part of the story that people don't ever know. We live in an Instagram era where people don't see that stuff, and the truth of the matter is that it was super difficult. I went through a lot, you know, going out to New York. And because of that, not giving up and constantly creating, people just took notice to me. And I think the universe has a way of, as you work, faith is, I always say, is an action word. So it's not just me speaking or me just praying and then something just falls out the sky. It was actually that through my pain, I was creating the style of art that I create now. And someone took notice of that. Simple as that, put in a word for me. And it's always this never happens type of story, you know, when you get hired into the job. This doesn't happen, you know, of course it doesn't. Like this was already mapped out for me.
Overnight successes take 10 years.
20.
You know?
Yeah.
So someone once told me that you're always auditioning. You're always interviewing for the job.
Yeah.
And it's just a matter of being caught while at work. So it seems that you were on that same team of, I just need to consistently work towards something that I believe in, and then the relationships will come along that I'll know to activate on to increase my trajectory.
In that moment, I think it's a matter of fight or flight. Like, I don't think that you necessarily know that that's what you're doing, you know, but I think that you're fighting for something. Like,
what's the alternative?
Yeah. Like, you don't have one. It's like, I have to, I gotta work. I gotta get something out of this. So therefore, I'm just gonna continue to produce, because if I fail, no one can say I didn't try.
Talk to me about faith, the importance of belief. Now, you're a man of faith, you have a spiritual center, and how does that play out in your work ethic, keeping focused, keeping centered, while aiming toward something that hasn't happened yet, but that you believe will?
Yeah, I had a conversation literally over there with Brandon about like, why am I right here right now? Like, I don't understand why I'm, you know, it's not that big of a crowd, but I don't know why I'm the person that was chosen to speak in front of anyone, other than I'm not supposed to know. I just have to kind of just live and let be. And I think that's faith in a lot of ways, is that you ask too many questions. You need to just like allow life to happen, stop worrying, and continue to work.
Dude, all the great characters in the Bible, the Christian Bible, have imposter syndrome.
I like that you said that, the Christian Bible too.
Yeah, because I mean, you know, this is not like a faith-centered event, but we talk about that because faith is really important in the life of a lot of creatives. And whether you believe or don't believe, what gets you up in the morning? What fuels you? Is it nature? Is it Hinduism? Is it Islam? Whatever that is for you. And sometimes we stumble on topics of faith, so I'm not afraid of it. But this also isn't where, if you came to hear a sermon, you came to the wrong place. But in the Christian Bible, there's a long line of people who are like, no, I'm not the guy for the job. You know, Moses was like, I can't go talk to him.
Yeah.
And do you find that that's a battle on the inside of saying, I don't know why I was the one chosen to be here, but I'm going to surrender to what I've frankly been called to do?
No, not for me.
Yeah.
No, I mean, I think that you early on might go through that. Everybody didn't have that story in the Bible, or in the Christian Bible. I haven't read anything else. But for me, I'm just here to do the work. Like, I've questioned, you know, the why, but I never questioned the work. I never stop. Did that answer your question?
Yeah, I think so.
Is it a question?
No, I see that in the life of so many creatives. Mm-hmm. And I see that echoed in scripture. You know, like Gideon was stuck in the wine press going, please don't send me out there. I don't want to be the one to do the work. Mm-hmm. But I envy people who don't question the way they're wired and don't question the path that they're on. They just do the work. So what keeps you there? What convinces you that you're in the right place? And what keeps you working in the right direction?
Again, I really can't answer that. Like, I feel like that's not for me to really try to focus on. I think that, okay, I can use an example, right? When I was I'm a new father, you know, and I was really worried that I was going to be a good father. I was like, what does that mean? Like, I don't even know what the first thing to do. And my friend told me, he said, you have morals. You're a good person. Just, it's going to happen. You're going to be okay. And I'm okay, right? And I think that it's something to say about that, is that we worry so much about the what if, like, am I cut out for this? And that's not the question. The question is, are you just going to knock it out? Are you going to be the person to just step up and do it? See, I'm sorry.
No, that's, you're teaching me. This is great.
The thing is like, a brave person isn't a person who necessarily didn't fear. A brave person is a person who feared and continued to go through.
So I learned so much from nature. I look at trees. I look at certain kinds of trees. You know, an oak doesn't question whether or not it's an elm. It just bees an oak. It doesn't ask, how tall am I going to grow? It just grows. It doesn't ask, what direction am I going to go in? It just grows. It just bees a tree. You know, a daisy doesn't ask, why am I not a rose? It doesn't consider the alternative of doing anything else. It puts all of its energy into simply growing. And I see so many creatives choked by fear. What if I'm supposed to be a rose and I'm getting it wrong? You know, an oak, what if I'm just a really ugly maple tree? You know, we absolutely paralyze ourselves with the anxiety of lives not lived. And I want to talk a little bit about fear. So you eat fear for breakfast. You actually take your fear. You don't suppress it. You don't avoid it. You use it as fuel. You say you're obsessed with fear.
I'm obsessed.
Talk about that.
Fear is energy. That's really all we need to know. Energy fuels things. Energy never dies, right? That's like scientific law. And fear is nothing but energy. You have to know how to use it. So everyone is going to experience it. It's like the opportunities like this today, right? Like I didn't know why I was here. And you start getting this like nervousness in your stomach when you start seeing people that you don't necessarily know, that you never met. Like I would love to shake all your hands before we leave and meet you, but you can't, like, I came into this knowing that, you know, someone might be judging. Of course, like if you know, when I'm standing up here, who am I listening to? Like, of course you're judging. I mean, and it's not a bad thing. But it's a fear that hit me because of that, right? But me using that fear, I have the ability to either change notions, either transfer energy, hopefully that you leave here and you create something or that you do something greater. When I had my show in New York, I had the biggest show of my life, which was at Microsoft on Fifth Avenue, which is like, you know, Trump Towers, Gucci, Louis. It's like where the tourists go. And I had this show, and I had the most, like I felt like I was gonna get sick. I was so nervous, but I was doing it. I just was like, you know what? Like, it's okay. And I understood that when I feel that feeling, that just means that I'm going to another level. Because the only reason that you fear it is because you never experienced it before. So if you're not fearing, you have to question how many times have you feared something in that year. If you're not fearing, you're probably just comfortable. And that's kind of a painful thing for me to just say to a group of people, but it's the truth. It's like, what are you fearing? How are you going to another level? Is there something that you haven't experienced or something that you're suppressing because you're not willing to move forward?
So you said something that was really profound. You're only afraid because you haven't experienced it before. Uncertainty is the currency of fear.
Yes.
And what I love about your approach is that anxiety, for instance, is energetically manifested fear. Mm-hmm. It's fear that has removed itself from conceptual and become activated in your body. Yeah. So I think of, as a musician, stage fright. I don't know what's going to happen on that stage. So the uncertainty is currency for my fear, which is manifested as anxiety. What do I do with that anxiety? Do I let it happen to me? Do I let it cripple me? Do I let it become a self-fulfilling prophecy so I make a mistake and end my career? Or do I understand that it's energy and do something inside myself to transform it so that I no longer conceptualize defeat and failure, but I conceptualize victory, and I pole vault energetically into a place where I can use that
Pole vault, I get it now.
Yeah. So what process do you go through to transform your mindset from one of anxiety to one of activation?
We have to kind of go back and what you spoke of before this even really began, and you talked about how we speak to ourselves, right? Because there is a dialogue that's going to happen. You have control over that dialogue if you decide that you want to jump in and have that conversation. And I think that a lot of times we just allow these words through social media, through our jobs, through outside entities to infiltrate our mind and our heart. And we never speak up. We never say anything back to that negativity. For me, I literally talk out loud to myself when I'm in the car. Throughout the day, I might look crazy to some people, but I have to do that in order to dismiss the things that are coming in here that I know are going to stop me from moving forward. So that's not even true. And somebody might be like, what, who are you talking to? And it's okay, because I got to do that in order so I can continue to ascend.
How do you know what's true of your inner dialogue when you have lies come at you, when you have things speak fear to you? How do you know what to not listen to?
It's what I want to create in life.
It's what you want.
It's what I want.
Yeah. That's massively powerful.
Yeah.
To believe that you have permission to ask for what you want. So failure.
You're not asking for what you want. You're just going to get what you want.
Oh my gosh. Are you feeling this? He's like, whoa. Don't ask. Go get it. Go for it. Failure. Is it actually real? Or is it a manifestation of that fear mindset? And moreover, when we're talking about failure, those pathways that end in failure, is it possible to leverage them? And can every pathway actually lead to your destiny regardless of how much failure you experience?
I believe it can. But I also believe that whatever you say is true. So if you believe that you're a failure, you're a failure. So, like, going back to what you spoke about, I sent Ashley a diagram. I sent Ashley a diagram that I wrote years ago when I was talking to students, and it's something that came to me one time, and it's speak, believe, act, and results. Act, and it's a circular motion. It's either an up spiral or a down spiral, right? So if I speak something to myself, the more I speak that, it's like a gear, for the mechanics in the room. The gear has to gain momentum, right? So as I speak something, that gear begins to start. As I continue to speak it, I gain momentum. Belief is me believing what I've been telling myself. Because of that, I act that way. And because of that, I get the results. So while I was in New York, I seen people that were like, I seen this couple that was like, every day I walked past them on my way to work. And I realized that this was the result of how we think of ourselves. That's it. Because there's no reason that I'm in this position other than hustle and belief. And they're in that position right there because they cannot think highly of themselves.
So do you, this is getting existential, do you believe in destiny? Or is it 100% choice?
Dang, that's a good question. I have to come back to you on that one.
Like, is the person struggling on the street, are they meant to be there? or did they design that? So is it environment? Is it circumstance? Is it choice? Is it how we dance with our opportunities? I mean, we're going to solve all the world's problems here tonight, by the way. Hunger and poverty are going to be a thing of the past in the next 20 minutes. But just reflecting on this.
That's a really good question.
Destiny's huge, and it's something I struggle with because I have tried to sabotage my own success, and I can't not be successful. But it's not the success I thought I would have. You know what I mean? So in a lot of ways, I'm a failure. I'm a walking failure. Because I didn't achieve what I wanted to achieve, what I thought was my destiny. But I ended up so much better after having this kind of trail of defeat. So I've often wondered, did I design this, or did this happen to me? What was it supposed to be like? Is it exactly how it was supposed to be? These are things that cause me to ruminate. How about you?
No, I mean, I'm stuck on that question. Like you just kind of stumped me a little bit. Because I speak so much about, executing what you want, that I guess I kind of like forget about destiny in a way. And maybe it all works out at the end, but the end is what we're trying to figure out. And it's not that's not really for me to determine.
And that's a really good question. So how it all works out, is that even for us to ask? Because I look at people who, they have tragedy befall them. How much of that was their fault? How much of that was their choice? And I can't go down that road, because I think a lot of times life just deals you an unfair hand. But we were talking earlier at this table over here, I think life is less about how good you do at arriving at a destination and more about how you respond to the circumstance in front of you. And in that way, I think we can leverage failure and use failure as fuel for success, like you use fear as fuel for activation. So maybe the question, is destiny real? Maybe that's an unfair question. Maybe it's just how you respond to whatever's in front of you.
I think, okay, so as I'm listening and I'm trying to kind of process that, I feel like we all have different personalities, like different spirits. Everyone is just different, right? Everyone's an individual. And that may just be the suit that you were put in too. So my wants aren't yours. You understand what I'm saying? And I think that's kind of what dictates your decisions ultimately, is I said, I want this, so I go after it, Their wants that people that I walk past every day may have been different from mine. I don't know. I feel like I just need to sit on that question, and
that's fine. I think destiny implies ideal, and that's something that we can actually have a conversation about defining, because my ideal is not your ideal. And I just am drawn back to Forrest Gump, where at the end he's watching the feather kind of float through the air, and he's like, do we have a destiny, or are we just floating on the wind like a feather?
I'm not trying to keep cutting you off. This is exciting. I literally got a tattoo of a feather on my leg, and it's because of Forrest. No lie. No, but it's because of Forrest Gump. I swear to God.
He's like, maybe it's both. Maybe both happen at the same time.
I love that movie.
Maybe it's both. Maybe there is something that is dreamt up for us that actually inspires us to want. Why do we want something? Maybe it's made for us. At the same time, maybe we're a feather floating on the wind.
Remember, he just started running.
For no reason.
For no reason, and changed the world around him. This is a fictional, this is not a real story, but that was a pivotal part of the movie. Everything that he did, he had such a great impact, and he just did it because he wanted to do it. It was I don't know why I started playing ping pong.
Why was he inspired to? Was that his destiny? Yeah, we can chew on this for forever. So the importance of friends and family. We got about 5 more minutes before we transition to question and answer. You talk about how friends and family can support and encourage, or how they can even derail you. Talk to me about that, and about knowing how to cultivate healthy social environments.
You have to realize that you are an individual and that you were put here on earth to do a specific thing. And that is going to be the thing that helps you to know when not to listen, because even family, which is like I'm a family man, you know, but I also know that no one else knows what I'm supposed to do but me. And because of that, I can't sit too long on advice of others. That makes sense?
You have to curate it, I think.
You have to know, which branches to prune, which branches to
You gotta filter.
It's so hard when people who are further along in years and further along in authority than you all but prescribe something for you. Well, you can't do that, you have to do this. You have to go to this school. You don't know what's best for you. And it's so hard to say no.
This is what you should believe.
Yeah, this is what you should believe. And when that's your parent or someone in a position of quote unquote power over you, how do you deal with that?
Well, for me, I don't necessarily know the answer to that, but I know for me how I'm dealing with that is relearning. And like New York was pivotal in that, in the sense of I think religion played a big factor in me relearning everything. And specifically because when I was there, I seen so many different belief systems and I thought they were beautiful. Like I was like, this is amazing, and this is helping this person to be a better person. Like how I don't want to judge this person. I don't know, what's good for him or, what's not. And so I had to relearn things that I was taught, not just from family, from community, from, I grew up Christian. I did ministry for years and I began to question a lot of those things. And the fear of me questioning those is what I had to fight. It's like, shouldn't I question? Shouldn't I get a definite answer for myself about what I feel? And because of that, I began to just relearn life. And I began to see life differently and just realize things a lot differently. So
do you find that when you shift even geographical perspectives, like you say when you go to New York to be introduced to this different rhythm and landscape of life, and it deconstructs your belief system in a way, do you find that it rises from the ashes even more affirmed?
It doesn't deconstruct your belief system if you don't allow it to, because some people go elsewhere and then they let go. I feel like that may not have been in you in any way. Like I really am still a man of faith, a believer. I feel like it enhanced. You know what I'm saying? My belief evolved. Like I understand the world on a bigger scale.
So do you find things that, like seeds that were planted in you in your upbringing, planted in more fertile soil when you got to work and live elsewhere?
Yeah, because I had to actually use the tools that were given to me prior to.
So what would you tell a struggling creative? So the James who was in high school and had to make some critical decisions about how to honor yourself and your path, decisions about education and career, who had just planted seeds within themselves and had a couple really encouraging voices in your upbringing, voices of parents that allowed you to be yourself and make mistakes, voices of teachers that said you have a gift. What if you could go back and say, here's how to cultivate those seeds. Here's some good soil to put them in. Here's a nice angle from the sun and some healthy water. What would you say to that person in that position?
I mean, as generic as an answer as this is literally just don't give up. That's the best advice I can give anyone, because it's going to get hard. You're going to doubt. You're going to fear. But if you just let go and you end up, like, I hate to keep using them. I feel like I'm looking down on these people. 'Cause I guess I kind of was, but the people that I walk past every day, I feel like they gave up. Like, I'm disappointed in that, because I feel like that could be any of us if we just say, forget it. And if you don't do that, I feel like you'll be okay. But if you consistently get up and say, how can I be better today? I think, like I said, the universe will give you that answer.
Don't give up. James, I want to open up the floor to questions from the folks gathered here tonight. Would anybody like to approach the microphone and comment, question, begin a new discussion?
James, right?
Yes.
So James, I have two questions, and then I have a statement. I always have a statement, right? But this probably is for your mom. Is your mom here?
Yeah, she's here.
So I was so moved when you said your mom gave you the art room where you could do anything, where the results of whatever you did was neither right or wrong. It was just your expression. How did she know to give you that?
Man, where is she? Oh, you want to answer this? Of course you.
We have the source. Yes.
Yeah, clap for my mama.
Well, he started drawing on walls and drawing things, but I had the Nike shoe has a heel.
Okay.
It's actually a Nike shoe. Well, he was about, I saw it before then, but when he was 9, I'm a collector of shoes.
Okay.
Little collectors.
All right.
The little shoes.
Okay, I see. I
Heels.
got you.
And I'm in the club for that. Well,
Thanks.
my son made a card for me, and it had a tennis shoe with heel on it, and he did a Nike swatch on it.
Oh, right.
And now that shoe is now. But I knew.
That was before Nike did it.
Mhm.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
I still have.
I told you he's a branding expert.
Yeah, I still have that picture. But he would just write on stuff, and so my husband was upset. He said, he's writing on this, he's writing on that. I said, well, we need to go ahead and let him do that. The same with my daughter, she wants to cook all the time. Well, she runs all the fine dining at the Grand Canyon right now. Because you pick up on that. But I would let him write. This is where you can write, son. And sit it on the table, put paper, put it, write all you want, color all you want. Then he had career day, and he said, I'm going as an artist. Well, Jay always wanted to wear suits to school. Like, why? So I dressed him up with the beret and the art and the paint, and that's what he wanted to be. But you have to get in tune with your children at a very young age, you know.
I want to talk more to you later.
Thank you so much. Yes.
Thank you, man.
You had it made. So you talked about fear, and so for me, I mean, you said we all have fear, and once I found my purpose, very few things am I afraid of the way I used to define fear. Tell me your definition for fear.
I think I defined it. I mean, it's energy. It's fuel. It doesn't feel good, but it's energy.
All right, I remember you saying that.
Let me add to that. Fear is a storyteller. Fear is a really convincing storyteller. So much so, so eloquent, so deeply poetic, so convincing that it sounds better than what you want. It sounds better than what's healthy. It sounds better than what you may actually be designed and made for. You said when you found your purpose, that dissolved fear because you made that voice louder. I think fear is maybe the opposite of purpose. It's the opposite of worth. It's the opposite of your identity and of who you are, really. Because who you are defines where you're going. I mean, fear wants to talk about the path and what's awaiting you down the path. The only thing awaiting you down the path is a different version of you. But if you know who you are right now, you'll continue to cultivate the habit of being yourself moment after moment after moment after moment. And fear dissolves. When you find who you are, fear dissolves. So fear must just be a voice trying to pull you away from yourself.
See, I heard you say that, and I also heard Brandon say that as well. This is very interesting. So I have a comment to make. You ask about destiny or fate. So I don't believe in destiny or fate. So my principles, my morals, my mom, dad, grandmother, whatever you want to say, has instilled Bible principles in me. And we were told that we're put before us life and death. And you must choose life. So we have a decision, and we decide where we're going. And sometimes heartbreak, things like that, will keep us as those two couple were on the street that you were passing. And so, but we must choose life.
Yeah.
That's
Thanks, Mark. Anyone else have any questions?
I don't have any questions.
Oh, yeah, could you sell it to the mic?
Oh, thank you. I want to say,
Oh, what's your name?
my name is Tracy Brown.
My auntie.
JT's auntie. And I want to say that I'm standing in admiration of this young man right here. I am the second mom to him. And growing up as a little kid, I would watch him, and he was always inquisitive. And there was nothing that JT didn't want to know about. And even when he learned 911, he decided to call 911 on his one day. And, you know, it was just the things that he would do as a kid. I knew that he would be something great. And I just want to say I admire him. He's always been a fantastic kid, and I just love him.
Aw. Thank you. Questions? Question. I know Brandon's got stuff in his brain back there. I know you guys have fun to pick. Yes.
Is there any?
Say your name.
Danielle. Well,
Hi, Danielle.
what are you working on now? Is there any projects that you have in the works?
She knows the answer. She just basically is telling me to promote myself.
Yes.
Yeah, so right now we're in the Detroit area, as you spoke about earlier. Still very much a part of Flint. This is my heart. Like, I love this city.
You're literally wearing a hat that says 810, which is the Flint area code.
Yeah. So about that, you know, that's a project that Danielle and I have been working on for a while. Jordan in the back, we call him Euro effects. And we've been working on this project for a long time. Actually, during my time in New York, we started this company. I hate talking about it. I love being behind the scenes. But it's been a great thing for the culture, for people that we grew up with. We understand them differently than I think that a lot of people do. And because of that, we've been pretty successful. We've seen it pop up literally all over the globe, in different countries, everywhere. And daily, we see these pictures. So it's been a blessing. So that's one project. As far as personal projects, art, you know, is still very much a part of me. I'm fighting to be recognized more in the fine art realm, where I feel like being a graphic artist, a lot of times I, haven't been given those accolades. I think that people look at it as quick and not traditional. So what I'm doing is a lot different. Doing something I've never seen anyone do. I know it was molded for me, and I'm just trying to grow that. But through that, we created, with the help of Danielle, we created a few partnerships in the Detroit area. Sources Booksellers is the first retail store to hold a collection of greeting cards that I started. And secondly, Detroit is the New Black, which is a great up-and-coming company ran by a young lady named Rosalind. Right downtown Detroit. So if you're ever going to Little Caesars or or something like that, it's literally walking distance. And these are the first of many retail relationships that I hope to gain over the course of these next years.
So what is next? Like, what is the very next thing on your radar?
Yeah, victory is the next thing. That's my daughter right there in the back. Yeah, that's my focus right there. So I'm a dad, like I'm a proud dad. So I am enjoying seeing her develop and giving her the opportunities that my mother and my father gave me. So that's my focus right now. It's like I'm obsessed with her, and the family that Danielle and I have created. So us, it's just cultivating that right now. But outside of the art, that's it for me. It's family and then those things that I want to create.
What do you see in this region, in the Flint, Detroit, the Southeast Michigan region, that is exciting to you?
For me, I'm gonna start with Flint because I'm still learning Detroit. Detroit is new to me, but they are they've accepted my art a lot faster than my hometown has in a lot of ways. Although, you know, I was on the board of Buckham Gallery for probably like 2 years or so. So I've been in the arts here for a while, but Detroit kind of just gets it, I think. Whereas Flint is figuring ourselves out. We're relearning who we are. And that's what's exciting to me, is because we're in this point in time where we can create and define who we are as a city. And I just made the decision to be a part of that. That might be destiny, because you know, how that idea came about and how successful it was is just kind of like, whoa, I didn't expect this. So let me just do the work. And as I do the work, man, it just has like rewarded me every day to see people that are like super excited to get that package and to like sport it and represent the history of this city. So that's exciting.
You said something really powerful. You said Flint has the opportunity to create what she's going to look like.
Yeah.
And I think so often we get caught in these problem-solving conversations about, well, how do we fix the problems in Flint? And even the better half of those conversations sound something like, well, what's Flint going to be like? Well, let's look at trending, and let's look at our struggles in the past, and let's look at our resources. So we'll just project, we'll predict what Flint is supposed to look like, and we disempower our creativity in those conversations. I was having a conversation with this influencer in Nashville. He does like consultation work for Oprah. I'm pretty much petrified to be in the room. I'm like, why am I here? And he looked me dead in the eye and he said, what's Flint going to look like? And all of my anxiety washed away because I knew the answer. It popped in my head as natural as breathing. I said, whatever we decide it will look like. Because I knew in my heart, that's why Conversation Piece exists, is to encourage people to believe that they have the power and the permission to design their community. We get to decide and then build what we think this community should be. That's huge. It's a blank canvas, and it's so empowering to think of the uncertainty, not through the mindset of fear, but through the mindset of, oh my gosh, I can make this whatever I want it to be. Any final questions or comments? Yes, sir, David.
I'm David. We're talking about a lot of motivating factors with fear and energy in building something. I guess I'm a person that reaches a pinnacle and shoots myself in the foot with success. So I'm just wondering how you use your motivation and all this stuff to reach and define what success is to you, and how do you keep that going and not shoot yourself in the foot and go back down? And do you ever reach a place where there's a contentment to where you can just like let it be and go from there, or is it just like always a grind and keep hustling? I've been confused about that all my life.
Yeah, I totally understand what you're asking. I think that the let it be aspect of what you just said is really what we have to remember. Again, when I had the conversation before I stepped up here to speak in front of you, it was literally, I don't know why I'm doing this right now. A big part of me wants to understand that, and a big part of me wants to like know what is going to come out of this, or is anything going to come out of this. That's not for me to try to figure out. What's for me to do right now is to just speak in front of people. And I think that for me, that gets that rids me of a lot of the anxiety that I have, of a lot of the questions that I have about what's to be, because I'm living in the moment. And as I live in the moment and I can just appreciate what's going on around me, then I'm so happy, as opposed to worrying about things I can't control.
Right, so you kind of finding a balance like in between, like either spiraling up or going down, or? Well,
that's the diagram on speaking that I thought up. I mean, it's the truth. It's like science, It's like is real. Is what you're telling yourself every day is what you're gonna eventually, do. So these are two different things. Me living in the moment and just accepting what is right now is what helps me to rid myself of like the questions of, am I doing what I'm supposed to do? Am I doing what I'm supposed to do in life? It's like, that's too big for me to focus on. I need to just do the bricks. I need to, take the bricks and build this house. And what I can do right now is just speak in front of people. And that's all I need to focus on.
Great. That's kind of where I've been.
Yeah.
I've had like exactly how you put it. It's
Yeah.
like I've started to live in the moment. That's
Right.
like, I see my progression going somewhere.
Beautiful, man. David, right?
Yes.
David, that's a huge question. How do you define success, and how do you honor the path toward your success? I love what you said. Just be yourself. And I think that in my experience, success, actual success, yeah, the cliche Oprah answer is, oh, it's whatever you define it to be. But I think universally, the healthiest form of success is one that is detached from the need for validation. Otherwise, you're farming out your worth, right? So yeah, you define your success, but what does that actually look like practically? And I go back to nature, man. So that daisy growing in the field, right? Maybe success for that daisy is being so beautiful and healthy that a little girl walks by and decides to bend down to that daisy and smell it, maybe even pick it, take it home and put it in a jar for mom. That's success. But that daisy was successful before the little girl walked up to it, because it wasn't worried about bending toward the right light to be just presentable, just so that maybe one day a little girl would pick that daisy. It's like, I'm just gonna grow. I'm just gonna be present with the resources available and honor my DNA and just grow. Fair enough?
Fair enough.
Thank you so much. Join us again November 29th when we have a special bent toward the music industry with our guest, Stephanie Belcher from Dime Detroit. She's a professor there who helps musicians activate responsibly with their finances. So we're gonna get a little bit of music business talk the next time around. Again, thank you so much for attending Conversation Piece here in beautiful downtown Flint. Enjoy your evening.